welcome to another episode of Braxus Photography Fun. Well, today we're going to go into a little bit of video in regards to the new Christopher Nolan movie, The Odyssey. And basically, I'm a person that likes to watch his movies. I know some people don't care for him, but I'm a person that just likes to see what he comes up with. He's really good at making big movies, of course, even if sometimes the soul might be sucked out of it. But I'm very much a supporter of his films because he likes to shoot in IMAX 70mm. And a lot of his movies, pretty much almost, I think about over half the movies he's done in his lifetime have been shot with IMAX 70mm in some form or another. And The Odyssey is pretty much the first full feature-length movie to be shot fully in IMAX 100%, IMAX film, that is. And there were other films in the past that he has done, but he didn't use IMAX fully throughout the entire film. And of course, there was The Wings of Courage, which was a dramatic feature back in the mid-1990s, which technically was the first dramatic feature to shoot 100% in IMAX, but it was only a 40 to 50 minute movie. And the reason it was that short was because back in those days, they only had enough room on the platter for 40 to 50 minutes worth of film. I'm sure if they devised a bigger platter back in the day, that movie probably would have been even twice as long as it actually really was. But anyway, today we're going to be talking a little bit about The Odyssey, basically more into the technical aspects of seeing the film in the theater than more of the story stuff. I don't go into the story details too much. I'll comment a little bit about that, of course, but for the most part, I'm just going to be going into more of the technical aspects of seeing The Odyssey in some, obviously, at IMAX 70mm theater. Now, Langley BC has one of the 30 film projection IMAX theaters in the world. Luckily, I'm basically 50 kilometers away from it, so I occasionally, when a Nolan movie comes out, I'll go and check it out in IMAX 70mm. But it seems to be a process that happens every 3 years these days. He's still pretty much the only director that that particular theater will show a film print in these days. And I know that's going to change at the end of the year when Dune Part 3 comes out. I understand that they are going to be showing 70mm prints with that film in that theater as well. I might check that out, of course. I'll have to watch the first two movies, though, just to catch up on what the whole storyline is about. But today we're going to be going into The Odyssey. Today, as I'm shooting this video at this very moment, it is the first day that tickets went live for all the remaining shows that they will be showing. A year ago, they had a sneak kind of ticket process where they had one show per day put up for people to buy tickets to in 70mm, but it wasn't all the available shows that they would have had, and today was the first day that all the available shows that they had were being they're being made available in 70mm IMAX. Now, when I went to get my ticket, it was 9 a.m. This morning. That was the first time that they posted the link to actually get the tickets today. And luckily it wasn't a huge problem getting onto the site here in Canada. I heard of stories in the States where people were waiting for up to an hour or more to get their tickets. It didn't happen with me today when I went to the Cineplex, basically the website, to get my tickets for the show today. So I had no issues waiting to get my ticket. It basically took a few minutes. What I did notice is that the link for the movie was only showing the digital theaters, of course. They weren't showing any of the other theaters. And I had to kind of do a little bit of searching around by going to the movie theater in Langley, and then going to the date of the film, which was July 17th, which is the day I wanted to check it out. And then from there it showed all the available movies that were playing that day, and from there I found the IMAX theater tickets available. So a bit of a runaround to get my ticket today, but luckily I figured it out just in time. I got only the one seat for the first showing on the Friday the 17th. They have some shows on the 16th, of course, but I didn't go for that. But I booked the day off on the 17th to go check it out, and I'm going to the 11 a.m. show by myself to check out the film for in 70mm. I also talked to one of my old co-worker friends that I do kind of a tradition to go see Nolan's movies in IMAX, and we're going again to see it in the IMAX theater. But with him, I'm going on a Sunday show, so I'm actually seeing it twice within a few days apart. But I'm going with him to see it in IMAX 70mm on a Sunday at a 3 p.m. show. So this video is just basically combining those two movie viewing experiences and what I noticed during the movie, and the people that showed up for the show, of course, and maybe a few aspects about the film itself. But there is that. I did check the tickets available. I got my ticket at 9 a.m. Around noon, only about a third to half the theater was filled up with ticket buyers by that point for the show that I was going to. I noticed that the Sunday show, and of course Saturday as well, those tickets for those shows actually sold pretty much most of the available tickets for those shows. So people are actually going on the weekends mostly to check this film out, not so much the weekdays. And by 5 p.m., which is when I checked it again, my theater, basically for the 11 a.m. show on the Friday, still hasn't sold out. Not many more tickets sold between that and the time I checked at noon. So yeah, it's not selling out completely like I thought it would. I thought there'd be a mad dash for people looking for tickets for this movie. But here in Canada, in BC, it's doing well, but it's not selling to the degree I thought it would. So I'll obviously check the tickets again in a week's time to see if those shows have sold out. And of course, I'm told this movie's going to be playing for a month in 70mm, and of course, you can still have a chance to go check it out if you still want to see it here in BC. But anyway, enough of my rambling. Let's go on to the experience of going to the show on the Friday and the Sunday for opening week. Let's take a look. made it. Here's the theater. So I just got back from the theater about an hour and 20 minutes ago. Ended up in rush hour traffic trying to get back home for what would normally be a 45-minute drive. And on the drive home, it gave me time to reflect on the movie as I was basically thinking about all the scenes in the film and the acting and so on and so forth. And it basically, to me, I've seen all the controversy in regards to this movie. I've seen some of the reviews, people giving it a really bad review, and I've seen some people give it good reviews. So this movie has really turned out to be really divisive for a lot of people. You either love it or hate it. And there's not a lot of middle ground, it seems to me, in regards to that. Me personally, I'm a Nolan fan. I like Christopher Nolan's movies. I always go to see his movies when they're open in the theater. And I always try and see it in the IMAX theater in 70mm when they do show a print like that. It's kind of one of my traditions to see the IMAX in 70mm when he makes a movie. And I'm going again in 2 days to see it a second time with my coworker who is also... we've made a tradition to go see his movie in the IMAX theater in 70mm, and it's kind of our little tradition to go. So I'm going to be seeing this film again, and it'll give me a chance to sort of see the movie with bits and pieces of it that I missed the first time. I tend to notice that with Christopher Nolan's movies, you have to see it more than once to try and take it all in. His movies really do have a lot in them to basically digest. And of course, it usually takes more than one viewing to fully get to the nitty-gritty of how you feel about the film and what you liked about it and so on and so forth. Now, disclaimer here, the Odyssey, I've never read the books, the Iliad or the Odyssey. I have almost no information about them whatsoever, so I went into this movie completely almost blind to the story behind it. Granted, I've heard of the Trojan horse story in my past, and that story's been in other movies and that kind of thing, and it's a well-known bit and piece of the Odyssey story itself, so I was familiar with that, but the rest of the movie I had no clue as to any of the storyline or anything like that. Granted, I did see some reviews yesterday and today in regards to the Odyssey, what people were thinking about it, to try and see exactly what perspective people are taking on this film. And personally, I liked the movie. I thought it was really good in the sense of what Nolan was trying to achieve with the film itself. I'm a techie at heart too, so the technical qualities I've noticed as well. But it's not, to me, his best work. I sort of liked Oppenheimer better than the Odyssey, in my opinion. Oppenheimer seemed to be a better film to me than the Odyssey was. But granted, I'm still digesting the Odyssey at this time, and maybe on a second viewing in 2 days, I'll have a stronger opinion about it as to whether, it is a film that I really like, or if there's something that I missed the first time that might make me think, no, maybe this is not his best work. Granted, none of the actors in the film bothered me like the controversies that have been going on out there at this time. I mean, I'm aware of Elliot Page and Lupita Nyong'o. Those characters didn't bother me. I went into this movie for the story, just to know about the story of this whole film, and the kind of nitpicking, actors that should have been chosen for the parts and that kind of thing, to me seems really silly. Like, it's just a movie, guys. Why are you making such a big deal about what actors they're choosing to play the parts, to the point where you're going to boycott the movie and try and bring it down online? That seems really immature, in my opinion. Again, it's just a movie, and you should go into the movie with basically trying to enjoy it for what it is. It's a good story in this film. It's a well-known story by many people. I will say that if you've read the Odyssey and the Iliad in your past and you're familiar with it, those are the people that might be more not so friendly towards this film, because they're seeing a certain perspective they saw in the books, and of course that seeing the movie taking maybe a different perspective on something and whatever it may be. If it's those people that are probably going to have some problems with this film, and of course there is a bit of mention on the reviews online already about that. So again, I'm almost completely blind to this story, so I went in just to see a good movie for the story itself. I probably missed quite a few things in regards to locations and that kind of thing, and people's names, like characters' names. But a second viewing should help clear that up a little bit. Now, there were some good performances in this film. Anne Hathaway has got to be the biggest standout performance in this film out of all the characters in the movie. She really did an excellent job with her performance in the film. And this is coming from a guy who has maybe a little bit of concern or issue with Anne Hathaway, with her anti-religious beliefs, kind of making fun of people who believe in Jesus and that kind of thing. Granted, that's all in the past too. I don't know what she thinks of that today, but knowing that about her didn't endear me to her in her career, in her other films, of course. But she really caught me in this film here, and that's something that would take quite some doing for me, and she really won me over in this movie. And kudos to you, Anne. I'm really impressed with your performance. Matt Damon, he had some good scenes in this film, some good performances in this film, but his performance throughout the movie seemed kind of monotone. It was like there's not a lot of range in his emotions or acting in this film. It's sort of the same thing from scene to scene to scene to scene. And I'm not knocking his acting performance. He did do really well in the film, but again, it just seemed like a monotone kind of performance. And part of the problem I had with that was Christopher Nolan's dialogue. Now, some of the dialogue in the film between Matt Damon and his son in the film, I'm forgetting his name now, Thomas or something. Anyway, they had some really bad dialogue moments in the film where the dialogue came across as really stilted and flat, and it was like they were reading lines off a page to the camera and that kind of thing, and it just didn't seemed, impressed for the performances concerned, and I'm not blaming the actor's delivery or performance of it. It was just the dialogue was not really that great, and of course, that's I know what writing good dialogue can be a challenge because I write movies myself, and writing good dialogue really is a challenge, of course. And dialogue is not one of my strong suits either. So, I mean, I can kind of relate maybe to this, but being Christopher Nolan with his, stature and just the way he's well known in Hollywood these days, that I would have almost asked him to get somebody to check his dialogue to see if there was a better way of writing it. Maybe that came across a little more natural in performance and that kind of thing. But the dialogue really seemed stilted, and because of that, the delivery from the actors seemed flat and stilted, of course. So yeah, Tom Holland, there's the name. That's the name I was trying to remember. Tom Holland, he was good in some scenes, especially near the later part of the movie. Of course, there was the one character with the dog. I'm forgetting his name. I thought he was really good. The witch in the film was really good. Her performance was really well done. Other characters in the movie, nothing so much that really stood out to me in regards to that. The story itself, I've heard of people making complaints that you don't catch a break in this film. I didn't have an issue with the pacing or the scene deliveries in the film, or the going back and forth in time, that kind of thing. That didn't bother me this time in his film. It seemed to sort of all make sense to me, and I didn't have a problem following along as to what, time period we're in. It's a lot of flashback kind of memory kind of stuff going on in the film. And of course, with all of that, Nolan's really well known for trying to shift around in time in his movies, and that's one of his strong points, of course, and it is a theme of his to flip back and forth and not have a linear story being told as well as that. So the movie really did start getting going during the second half, and I gotta really say I love the ending of this film. It really was the standout portion of the movie. And I think that's the part that was not really in the Odyssey book itself, or the poem, I should say. I know the Odyssey is a poem, but the ending was really well done. I was actually getting quite emotional near the ending of the film, and it was hard to fight back emotions going through me at the moment as I was watching the scenes unfold. And I got to admit, near the end of the film, I did shed a few tears just because of the emotions involved in those scenes. And I'll mention one of my triggers for being emotional and that kind of thing with movies is the sense of loss in storylines. And whenever I see movies that have a lot of loss or even loss and gain in their story with emotional scenes, I tend to tear up quite a bit. But this film, it's got to be some kudos to the fact that it got me emotional near the end of the film. The other scenes of the movie, it was kind of, I don't know, I wasn't emotionally connecting with a lot of the earlier scenes. I know that people were talking about the horror scenes in the film. It didn't quite grab me with those scenes as it would with other people. And I don't know if it's because I deal with CPTSD myself and maybe my emotions were blunted as a result as I was watching those scenes. But of course, like the Cyclops scene, it was good, but it didn't scare the heck out of me like it did some people, of course. And, other scenes as well. There seemed to be an emotional disconnect with me in some of the scenes. And I don't know if that's the fault of the movie or if it's just a personality trait with me, myself, seeing something like that on screen. So there is that. So my recommendation is give yourself the chance to form your own opinion about this movie. I know there's a lot of people out there that are saying just don't see it, don't watch it. And of course, they have the right to their opinions, but some people were trashing the film before it was actually in theaters, and they were claiming they saw it. And I question, those reviews, whether they were just put up for trying to slam the movie and put a bad name on it before it was even showing in the theater for that particular day. The movie's only been out 2 days, yesterday and today, as far as a wide release is concerned. So again, I'm going in 2 days on Sunday to check it out a second time, and I'll have a better opinion formed of it by the second viewing. So yeah, check it out, guys. If you like Nolan movies, you'll probably like this one too. If you hate Nolan movies, you probably won't like this film either. Of course, it kind of depends on what kind of movies you do like to begin with. But I'm a Nolan fan. I'm not a fanboy in the sense of just going crazy over his films. I just tend to like some of his movies. And, that goes way back to the days of Memento and there's some of his earlier films I still have to watch. I haven't seen them yet, but I've seen Batman Begins and on, basically, with all his movies. His one movie that fell flat for me was Tenet. That movie was a mess to me. It just didn't grab me in any way, shape, or form. I thought that was one of his weaker movies. But I would rank this movie maybe 6 or 7 out of 10. And again, I thought Oppenheimer was a better movie, and some of his other movies like Inception and Interstellar were better movies. There was a lot of flat scenes in this film that I didn't emotionally connect with. And of course, I think it was just because, it was such a fast pace between all the scenes that you hardly had a chance to catch a break. Now, there were moments in the film when you could catch a break, so it wasn't completely all bad for that. But yeah, just go and see it for yourself. I would recommend the IMAX 70mm viewing. I'm a 70mm IMAX proponent. I love seeing those movies in IMAX on film. And I've been doing that since 1986. I've been seeing a lot of IMAX movies in my day, and I always try and go to it when the Langley Theater shows another one. I noticed that the image quality was a bit soft compared to my digital camera here, so I think 8K digital cameras would give IMAX a run for its money. But the IMAX 70mm still had that lovely film quality to it. It is a softer image compared to digital, of course, but it's still a really great image, and you really got to see this movie in IMAX 70mm because it fills the top and the bottom of the frame, whereas the other formats would be cropped. And I couldn't imagine the framing for like 5 perf 70mm or even a digital projection where it's cropped at a more narrow screen, because I could see a lot of those shots being claustrophobic and too tight in regards to that, because the framing in the IMAX 70mm, they actually sort of, because it was a square image almost, that there wasn't a lot around the person to really fill in the shot for a rectangular view. So Yeah, you really got to see this in 70mm IMAX, guys. That's pretty much my only way I would actually suggest seeing this film. And you've got to see the big hubbub about 70mm in the first place if you haven't in your past already. And you got to see what it's all about, guys. It really is something to behold. And the cinematography in this movie was really good. I noticed there was a lot of shaky cam in this film, and I couldn't imagine the fact that they probably handheld that IMAX camera for all those scenes. They had shaky cam. It wasn't shaky cam like intentional. It was more like just, that's the way it ended up being when they shot the scene. So it wasn't over the top, but it was noticeable in some scenes. So not a big deal. It worked for what the scene was needing. And the cinematography, as I said, was really good. The fact that the whole movie was in IMAX format to begin with kind of took away from some of the grandeur shots in the film, because every scene or every shot in the movie was in IMAX 70mm, and it kind of takes away from seeing it in IMAX and then lesser, and of course, it's not quite the how shall we say, it doesn't really give that extra special look in certain scenes, of course, because they're all like that throughout the entire movie. And maybe it's just something that I noticed. But, there's a thing about switching aspect ratios and formats in his previous movies where you saw it in IMAX and it's like, wow, that really is eye-catching. Whereas this film, it's all that way, so it kind of takes away from it a little bit. I don't know if you can kind of get what I'm getting at, but I would see this movie as, if you can, in 70mm IMAX, because I'm kind of curious whether they're going to be making any more movies in the future in 70mm IMAX from beginning to end like Nolan does for this film. It's I just get the feeling we may not get many more opportunities to see it in 70mm IMAX 100% from beginning to end. Dennis Villeneuve, however you pronounce his name, Villeneuve, I think is the way it goes. They had a 3-minute introduction prologue before the Odyssey was showing in the theater today, and he was switching aspect ratios. So he was saving the IMAX shots for those grandeur shots, of course, and switching aspect ratios back to a widescreen kind of framing for other shots. And I don't see them making many more films in 70mm IMAX from beginning to end 100% in the future very much, just because of the cost involved and the fact that Hollywood's pinching pennies and slowly sort of dying off to some degree. But that's just my thought. I'm hoping that's not the case. I hope that we get to see more IMAX movies 100% from beginning to end, shot in IMAX 70mm. I'll have to see what the future holds. There were 41 theaters for this release around the world that could show it in 70mm IMAX. That's 11 more than it was the last time in the times previous to that. The Richmond Theater in Vancouver had the 70mm IMAX projector in the theater the whole time. They just never used it since 2012. And a lot of people weren't aware that theater was showing it in 70mm. So, it's another option for people in Vancouver. They don't have to go all the way out to Langley to watch it. And, some people in the theater today weren't even aware that Richmond Theater had converted back to film projection again. So hoping that, this leads to more releases in 70mm IMAX. And yeah. Anyway, that's my review. I'll probably do another short review when I see it a second time, and I'll release that in the following week on a Sunday on my regular time. This one is going out either tonight or tomorrow morning, on either Friday night or Saturday morning, because I want to get that review out for you guys to see right away. So there won't be a video on Sunday for me this week, guys. Anyway, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know if you've seen the movie and if you liked it or not. Or again, this is a really divisive movie, and a lot of people either love it or hate it. And the only way you're really going to find out whether that's the case is if you go and see it yourself. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Well, thank you for watching, and aye and goodbye. Eh?